What's up, guys? Wednesday night hangout. I'm back from Green Bay. Anthony DiBona, the Ant-Man himself, in the house. Got a lot to get into. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I mean, it seemed like everything was going well. The Eagles won. I know it wasn't pretty, but they won. And then now, obviously, the things that we're going to get into. So it's not always sunny in Philadelphia.
That is the truth. I don't know that I want to start there. I'm sure
No,
that everybody
no.
knows where we're going to get to.
Positivity, baby.
I see people in the
Positivity.
comments, right? So we can start out with some positivity. We will get there, and I'll get to all the other chats and everything else. But shout out really quickly to multiple members of the channel, people re-upping as well, but not Matthew. I'm not sure what his Matthew is, but not Matthew. Welcome to Let's Run It here. And then also Matthew Stevic, I think is how I would say that last name, but Matthew, different one. Welcome to the channel. Anthony Miguel Sr., welcome to the Let's Run It tier as well. And Quentin Soul, member for 9 months. A.J. Brown is absolutely right about the offense. There's the comment there. Again, we'll probably get into that here in a bit. Shout out to everybody else in the chat as well. Also to people that were in Green Bay. It was a blast. It was awesome trying to get as many people together as I could. I apologize if I missed messages or emails or DMs or everything. I tried my best to send out as many links and everything for people to get to the group me, but if I missed it, it was not intentional. It was not vindictive. I didn't see it, and it was kind of madness. But it was fun. It in a way, it was not real fun, but it was fun. 10-7 game. A little boring. I like defense and I like the cold, so that did help. But it was ugly. Like we could call it what it was. It was a pretty ugly game, and it's crazy that we have two games that ended at 10-7 this year. The Broncos and Raiders games, which personally, I think that was uglier than what the Eagles played for the Packers. But you still had another 10-7 game, and I didn't anticipate that would be the case for Monday night. But at least the Eagles got the win.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice. You traveled all the way to Green Bay, go to Lambeau Field to watch a baseball game end in a 10-7 score. I mean,
Pretty much.
yeah, it was kind of crazy because when the Eagles made that field goal, it was like, did they just take an insurmountable 3-point lead because of the way that game was going? And then they somehow traded touchdown drives, but then that was it. It was a very odd game, but at the end of the day, obviously the Eagles won, which is what matters and which is what Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni kind of talked about. But it's crazy because you want to get excited about it because of the way the defense played, but then it's like those offensive concerns kind of creep back in, which you thought maybe heading into the bye week were in the past, and now they kind of showed up again. But you also have to realize how good that Packers defense is, and I feel like we mentioned it on like the game preview. We both picked a higher scoring game, but we both understood how good the Packers were and how good especially that defense was with Micah Parsons. And I know he didn't necessarily put up a ton of stats, but he was impacting the game with the way he was making either Jalen Hurts miss targets or scramble when he doesn't necessarily have to. Just like the fact that he was on the field was always a threat for the Eagles, and the way that the Packers kind of utilized him all over the front. So, but I mean, there was so much positively to take away from the game for the Eagles on the defensive side of the ball that I don't want to lose sight of that with everything else that's kind of going on around the team.
For sure. Absolutely. There's Jaelen Phillips, which we can also talk about. He's just a beast. Philly, though, with 10 Philly Special Show memberships. Really appreciate that. Shout out to you, man. 10 individuals getting access to the membership and the giveaways there for the tickets. Congrats to you guys. Thank you for that. Also, let me just say this too. Normally, we would have the stream on Tuesday, and I was traveling, and congratulations to you, sir, for the anniversary. I hope that was a good dinner.
Yes, it was.
And also, thank you to veterans. I made a post about it, but we obviously did not record. But thank you to our veterans out there. You guys are the real heroes. Cannot say that one enough. So we'll do a special veterans giveaway towards the end of this. It'll be for the live stream individuals, but if you're a veteran and you normally hang out on the live stream, then stick around and we'll do something special for that. So anything, just a little bit tip of the cap. But like I say, cannot thank you guys enough for your service. Also, I do have another giveaway, and if I can kind of get this somewhat in the screen, I'm working with a half screen here, but there's the Philly special. I think the piece is called Destiny by Jordan Spector Sports Art. Appreciate Jordan for that one. But I mentioned that in the video last week, so I will be spinning for that one. Now that you do not have to be present here for. If you just got in a comment on the video last week, then you got a chance, I'll spin for it. I'll announce it. You'll have time to claim. But for the other one, it will be for the live stream members as we try to do as many times as possible. Okay, couple super chats, and then we will get into multiple different topics and everything else here. Alex with the 5 bomb says Patullo has been the passing game coordinator for the past 5 years. Makes you think. Makes you think.
Yeah, it's weird because it feels like we just keep going back to like whose offense is it really, right? Is it Nick Sirianni? Is it whoever the offense coordinator is? Because we've seen a couple different people hold that title since Sirianni and has taken over and since Jalen Hurts has been the full-time starter. But I keep going back to that. I think it truly is a collective effort between all of those guys that I mentioned, Patullo, Sirianni, and Jalen Hurts. And it's like, if the offense looked good, it's only Jalen Hurts. Like Jalen Hurts called it. All the plays were him. And when the offense struggles, it's like, oh, Kevin Patullo sucks. Nick Sirianni has to go. Like there's no clear, like this is the guy running the show. And that kind of makes things tough to judge from the outside because it feels like even when Kellen Moore was in there, we had these same questions where the first 2 playoff games, if you look back last season, I think A.J. Brown had like 3 catches for 24 yards combined between those first 2 games. And yet they went on to win the Super Bowl. So it's like people want to pretend that these struggles didn't exist before, but they have. And it's with every offense coordinator that they've had under Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. So you can choose who you want to point the finger at. But at the end of the day, these struggles are going to continue to happen, unfortunately. But if they win when it matters, then it doesn't really matter at the end of the day how the offense looks.
Yep. That is a fantastic point. Let me see if I can get this on the screen, too, for people to be able to see. Maybe I can zoom in here as well, because otherwise you're going to be helpless for people watching on mobile, which seems to be a constant issue. My apologies. I think this is not too bad. I think, if you have decent eyesight, I don't know. I'm looking at it at a full screen, but I think that you could see this. But I think that's a great point because I was thinking this earlier today too as I was going over some of the numbers, and I was like, because you're like hey, you mentioned Kellen Moore. There's nuances. We've seen the offense. It can be great at times. It can be super, super frustrating. But this is not even one of those because someone threw out the kind of sentiment of like, oh, that was the equivalent of the New Orleans game. But then, the counter argument is, yeah, but that was before the bye week and it was, early offense and trying to figure things out. But, you mentioning the Packers game or the 2 playoff games, but you just take a look at the Packers game, 22-10, that was the final score. But if you remember correctly, it's like, look, we had the Oren Burks fumble, the hit and the fumble on the kickoff return, right, to open up that game, score super quick. And then outside of that, it was kind of like, it's a little rough. Like there wasn't great moving the football. It wasn't doing a whole lot. And so, you even see it on your screen there. Jaelen threw for 131 yards. That's less than he did in Green Bay. He had 2 touchdowns, sure, but 131 yards, 13 for 21. That's not a great completion percentage. It's okay. Saquon, that is the difference, 25 carries, 119 yards. It's still not, always 7 yards a clip, but 4.8, we will take that. We definitely take that for this season, how things have gone. But then the receiving yards there, Smitty, 4 for 55, Goddard, 4 for 47, and A.J. Brown, 1 for 10. Now, we could say, and this is probably accurate, we don't know 100% if they're keeping things under wrap. A.J., we do know this part. We do know that A.J. was banged up last year going to the playoffs, and he even said, hey, I was a decoy, like the knee injury was worse than maybe some people knew. That makes sense. So this season, I don't think that he's injured. Now, he was coming off the hamstring injury. Were they perhaps trying to be like, oh, let's ease into it for whatever reason? Who's to say? But it didn't seem like that the way that AJ said and spoke about it and what we've seen as a total or as kind of the total body of work. But sure, I mean, we could say both sides. That both can be true. Should the Eagles be scoring more than 10 points? Absolutely. Even though it's the Packers and they're good defense, they should be scoring more points than that. But it's also not so far to the extreme to go, oh, Kellen Moore's offense was, just Barnby just crushing everybody too. And cold weather plays a factor as well. I mean, these are cold weather games that we saw and the offense didn't really find their stride until Washington, but Washington was a whole other story and we were able to just run for, 6 touchdowns or whatever it was. So, but yes, I think that there's both sides, it's a lot to blame for, and if you want to blame, like you can, you don't have to, but if you're looking for it, it's not one thing. It's not Jaelen, it's not AJ, it's not Kevin Patullo, it's not the offensive line. It's all those combined. And honestly, like being there in person, I was like sitting there and I was watching it going. You mentioned a second. It was like, oh, we were watching a baseball game, right? I was looking at my father-in-law at the end of the third quarter, who's a Packers fan, because his wife grew up in Wisconsin. But we look at each other and we're like, is it 3-0? Is it 3-0 starting the fourth quarter? This can't be right. It's 3-0. How has nobody scored? But both defenses playing extremely well, and the offenses not capitalizing on anything. If you had some mistakes, some miscues, some turnovers, Jalen Hurts fumble, only for Jordan Love to top it with whatever that was. Kind of comical because it's just like, oh, there goes the ball. There's the fumble. But the positive is the defense. Defense played really well.
I mean, and you have to start with Jalen Phillips, right? I mean, it's like that was the question going in was like, how many snaps is he going to play? People are like, oh, he's probably going to play like 15, 20 snaps. Like they'll ease his way in. Nope, he's going to play like 90% of the snaps, be utilized all over the defensive front. He was on the left side, the right side, in the middle. He was used as like a spy on one play where they kind of just dropped him off to watch Jordan Love in coverage. So like Vic Fangio did not waste any time as far as like getting Jordan Phillips involved with the defense. And then obviously Jalyx Hunt had made a couple plays. He had a big sack and then had tackle for loss. Almost killed the referee with a punch, which was funny because he was asked about that on the field after the game. And he was like, that ref would have been lights out or something, like he would have been out of there or something like that.
He would have, yes.
That was pretty funny. Even your boy Nolan Smith got a sack. I mean, it was a sack for 0 yards, but it counted as a sack.
It counts just to say the streak's alive. You texted me whenever that happened too. I was like, yes, come on.
It was cool to see that. And this, like, obviously Quinnen Mitchell played unbelievably well. My boy Adoree Jackson, we really didn't hear his name called much, which is always a great sign. Whenever you don't hear a cornerback's name mentioned, that usually means they're playing pretty well. Drew Makuba, he was looking more and more comfortable. I know he gave up that like 125-yard pass late in the game when they were trying to rally back, but overall, you really didn't see a ton of miscues from him. Like, I was weird because like maybe one player on the defense didn't play up to like their level or impress, and that'd probably be Cooper DeJean, which is very uncharacteristic. So obviously, I don't want to harp on that too much, but he was called for like 2 holding penalties and like didn't look as good as he normally would. But the way he's played overall, I mean, you can't be disappointed. So that's my biggest takeaway from the game, and I wrote about it in the article on the PhillySpecialShow.com, was that while a lot of people in the national media are focused on the offense, like what's going on with the offense, like I said, I've expected the like roller coaster ride of an offense. I don't expect the Eagles to be the team that puts up 35 points every week and has 500 yards of total offense. I just don't think that they're going to do that for whatever reason it might be. But I think the defense and the inconsistent and their like lack of a pass rush was my biggest concern coming out of the bye week, because that's eventually what could expose a guy like Adoree Jackson at that second quarterback spot if the quarterback has time for them to attack it. But now you saw when they added Jalen Phillips and Nolan Smith came back, Brandon Graham made a play or two. Now you can really see what that defense can do, because now Zach Bond didn't have to blitz. He was able to be in coverage, and Nakobe Dean was able to blitz here and there, but he was also making plays on the second level too. So that's my biggest takeaway from the game. Everybody's going to be concerned about A.J. Brown's comments and the lack of scoring, but I feel a lot more confident in this team after that win than I did heading into that win.
And it's and I believe, I can't remember who actually shared this, so I apologize. I'm not going to give credit to who it was, but I was reading so many different articles and stats and info and everything else. If you know it, feel free to shout it out. But there was going back to, you mentioned like the not having to blitz Fangio in different elements, because up to this point we've seen Fangio blitz so many times, uncharacteristic, the high amount that he's had to blitz, but it's because obviously he's not been able to get that pressure. It was I think the second lowest amount of blitz rate that's happened this season, and they still generated a 40% pressure rate. Like that's insane. And if he doesn't have to do that on the blitzes, I was watching it too at the game, and I was like, and Jordan Love didn't play a good game, so you could say that, but again, it's that fine line of like, how much do you attribute to the defense and how much do you say, well, the quarterback was off that game? He was pressured like crazy, and it was the highest amount that he'd had, or the second highest amount, I believe, that he'd had all season long. But every single time I was like, Man, these edge rushers, really the defensive line as a whole, but everybody getting to him, he had no time at all, and he missed reads from it. You could tell he was getting anxious in the pocket. That early sack from Jalyx Hunt, I think, was what did it, just to set the tone. Like it was like,
Yeah.
whoa, he's getting pressure from Jalen Phillips. He tries to dodge it, and normally he might have an escape, but then Jalyx is right there, throws him down, and you're like, all right. This is how it's going to go all game long, and then you just saw it amp up the entire time. So I know it's just one game, but I really love being able to, and I mean, anybody who's gone to a game can attest to this, but it's like I really love being able to go to a game, especially like middle point of the season, because you could get a little bit more of a feel, obviously, just for how the guys are playing. You can see more that doesn't get shown on the television broadcast angles, things like that. Now, I know you can watch it in film, but it's just, it's a different atmosphere, different vibe when you're there in person, live action, and all that other stuff. And I'm telling you, like, was at the NFC Championship game. We were at the Thursday night football game last year against the Commanders. The way that defensive line played, and I know it's only one game, so you say, Josh, pump the brakes. That's fair. But in the one game, I will say this. The way that defensive line played, they are a Super Bowl caliber, like dominating defensive line, creating havoc for quarterbacks that we have not seen at all this season that would rival what last year was doing. There's no doubt in my mind because they were playing with confidence. You started seeing it on the run game. I love the clips of Moro Ojomo, obviously calling out the inside zone late in the game, but earlier as well. Like the way he sees the game, you can tell Fangio has completely gotten through all those. It's high football IQ to begin with, but to me, I'm like, man, this defense, it is scary. And I know that then it goes back to the other side of it and say, man, yeah, but if the offense can't get anything going, are they going to hold this team back? Maybe, but this is nothing like, because we remember the first 4 or 5 weeks, maybe longer, of, it's shades of 2023. It's going to be the same thing. Nope, not defensively. Like, there's no question that this team, they're continuing to trend upwards as far as the defensive side. And if they get things figured out, it's an if. I understand that. There is some concerns, but I'm not near as, I don't know, concerned or questioning, going like, yeah, but I don't know, though. Like, can this group get back to what it was, especially just as far as the defensive side of the ball? So, yes, positive takeaways there. I know we'll get to the other parts, like we said, but Jaelen Phillips, the most pressures, I think you texted me afterward, most pressures by an Eagles edge or defensive lineman all season in his first game. Like, I don't know that you can have a better debut. And every time the dude talks, like press conferences, mic'd up clips, it's one thing to be a good football player. It's another thing to be a good football player and to absolutely love the environment and the team that you're on. It takes you to that next level. He's given his all. Like, how can you not love Jaelen Phillips?
Yeah, it's just so important. And it goes back to when I did have the honor of having media credentials for that last game of the regular season last year, where I asked Zach Bond, I was like, how important is it to be in like a different setting, like this culture that's been able to kind of turn your career around, put him in a new position. And he just talked about like the unknown, right? Like he never would have known, basically he never would have reached his potential if he didn't sign with the Eagles. So you never truly, like, so many times we're quick to rule off, especially these young players on their rookie deals, like, oh, they're not producing, they're not good. Like, that's it. Like, you never know if a guy gets put in the right situation with the right coach. We're so quick to like count out these players early in their careers and say that they're trash or they're a bust. And then next thing you know, they go to a different team and they turn it around. And I'm not saying that Jaelen Phillips was a bad player in Miami, not at all, but he did look like he had arguably the best game of his career in his debut with the Eagles. And now it's like, you get a little bit scared because you're like, oh, did he like peak in his first game? And now it's like only downhill from here. But at the same time, it's almost like, what if he gets more comfortable and then they start to move him around even more? He's like, gets better communication with the other guys around him and they can run these stunts. Like, if this is just the beginning, watch out. But it also goes back to what we were saying heading into the year, where even if the offense was inconsistent, because of the defense led by Vic Fangio, the floor felt so much higher for this team. And now we even talked about how this defense had the potential to be even better than last year's defense. And I think what we saw on Monday night was very, very close to them kind of reaching that point.
Definitely for the defensive side. And again, if they continue, they had some stuff on the offense before the bye week. We started seeing different nuances. The first possession was good offensively. Like, I had no issues with the first possession. I would guess and think that the vast majority of everybody in the chat and everybody else just watching the game, first drive was fine. Like, it was good. 16 plays. That's a lot. 77 yards. But we're sitting because, we had Packers section or Packers sideline or side of the field tickets. So, more Packers fans there. Good showing of Eagles fans nonetheless. But more Packers fans. And so you're hearing, the interpretation or just the thoughts of the other team going like, oh, man, that first drive, if Jaelen had not fumbled, and it's a what if we're playing the hypothetical game, but we do this for everything. But if Jaelen had scored, or the Eagles, whoever scored, the Packers were in a bad way, and they're starting to feel like, oh man, like this team is just going to keep on picking up third downs. They're just going to keep beating you. It's death by 1,000 cuts. It was 16 plays. It's wearing on you. The defense is obviously getting rest, so they're going to come back out. And it was early in the game, obviously, because it was the first possession. But Packers fans were going like, dude, this offense, like they just, it doesn't matter what the down and distance is. It doesn't matter the yardage wise. It's a short yardage or whatever. Convert the first down. Okay, well, there they go. The drive's still alive. We can't get them off the field. Don't know what's happening. Then you had the fumble, and it felt like that was the moment. As soon as the fumble happened, I don't know if it's the coaching staff going, oh shoot, we can turn the football. Like, oh, we need to not do that. Like this is going to be a close game for some reason. The cold weather's playing a factor, or Jaelen being conservative. I'm not exactly sure, or they run out of scripted plays because they called 16 of them and then they're having to go off of feel. That could be a factor as well. But it was like the scripted session, the first drive was solid, and then fumble, turnover, and it just went sideways until late in the midway through the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was like they had a phenomenal opening script, and like those first 15, 16 plays went about as well as you could have asked for.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had that fumble, and it was like they were like a turtle, and they just went back in their shell. And that's when you started seeing like they were never passing on early downs, like to try and get ahead of the sticks. So it was just like, all right, we got a negative run, or we got a run for 2 yards. Now it's 2nd and 8. Now we're going to pass. It's incomplete. Now it's 3rd and 8, or we got a penalty. Like they kept shooting themselves in the foot and putting themselves in bad positions. And I mean, granted, the absence of Lane Johnson probably played a factor because
for sure,
they had so much momentum before the bye week. Their offensive line finally seemed healthy. They were able to bring in Fred Johnson as that 6th offensive lineman. Now, obviously, he had to replace Lane Johnson, so they did bring in Matt Pryor, at least for one play as that 6th offensive lineman, and it worked out. But I mean, maybe they didn't have like the comfortability level that they thought they were going to have with a Lane Johnson in there, but they were able to stay afloat regardless. And like you mentioned, we talk about hypotheticals, but like seriously, if we zoom out a little bit, if they do even score a field goal on that first drive and Jalen Hurts doesn't fumble, I think we're happy, right? Then moving forward, it's like if Jalen Hurts didn't miss Grant Calcaterra on what could have been a touchdown on that play,
you were gonna have to apologize for Grant. That was the start of his Grant Calcaterra game, and then you'd have to apologize.
That was. I mean, my gripes with Grant Calcaterra have never been
no,
if he can catch a football.
I know it's the blocking
just that
aspect, but
terrible as a blocker.
We can look the other way for one game, but
absolutely, I would have had to say sorry like I did for Brett Toth's performance in Week 8. But then also the run with Saquon Barkley where he was not tripped supposedly by Micah Parsons, which from the all-22, it looks like that very well could have been a touchdown as well. So those 3 plays right there could have been as many as 21 points, especially and probably 100+ yards. Like, so I know we're talking hypotheticals and people want to say like, this is what actually happened, whatever, but there were some opportunities there that didn't go the Eagles' way. So I don't think they need to make like drastic changes where all of a sudden AJ Brown needs to be targeted 15 times and like they need to do this type of formation. Like they obviously need to do better. They need to get AJ Brown more involved. But I think Kevin Patullo's play calling, as far as like schematically, was actually pretty good in that game. It's just the execution, and I think Micah Parsons ruined a lot of the plays too, with just his pressure and throwing timing off of things like that. But I mean, I don't think they need to make sweeping changes and completely overhaul the offense and fire Kevin Patullo and things like that. I think they'll be fine. It's just a matter of them keeping everybody together and then moving forward.
Yeah, I will say watching it as well, and the Packers again, they have a good defense, definitely with a pass rush. There was like you do want to game plan, like okay, we're going to protect Jaelen. We don't want to give up, ridiculous sacks. Make sure we have the protection there. The number of times though that it was like, oh, we're going almost max protect or as many blockers as we can. There's only like 3 receivers, sometimes 2 receivers downfield, and the Packers have 7 guys back in coverage. I was like, Are you like nothing's going to happen here? Of course, Jalen's going to eventually scramble out because he's finally going to get some pressure. Whether it doesn't matter how long he holds on to the ball, no one's going to be open. And then Jaelen, runs for 2 yards or he throws it out of bounds and go to the next play. So, it did feel like even before when Lane Johnson was on the field, certainly once he went off, but it felt like even once Lane was there, first series maybe a little bit more aggressive or willing to take a little bit of chances, but after that point, it was like, I get that you need to give them respect. That's totally fair. But it was almost like there was so much fear for that pass rush that they're just like, man, we got to make sure we're just really protecting Jaelen. Or if we do something that it's just, one option, that's it. If we don't see it, move on, scramble out of the pocket, get rid of it, whatever we need to do. And it was kind of all out of sorts. They eventually hit on something. And like you pointed out, though, too, there were at least a couple other instances that they didn't execute. So there were some opportunities. They were just so few and far between that it was like, man, it's so frustrating here because it's like so hard. It's so difficult. And it just doesn't feel like it needs to be that way sometimes. So ultimately, they got the win. Again, that's the positive for the offense. I don't know how many games you're going to win scoring 10 points, but, if you're Green Bay, you'd be feeling worse. You've lost 3 games when your defense has held the opposing team to, 16 points or less? That seems hard to believe. So the Eagles are better in that sense. And now they have the head-to-head. They have the head-to-head over Green Bay, head-to-head over Tampa, head-to-head over the Rams. I mean, come on now.
Very important. Yeah, I mean, and obviously this week against the Lions is going to be maybe the most important of all of them. So
yeah. It's
going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But just going back to Kevin Patullo, I think one of the biggest things that I've been complaining about all along is just his play sequencing, which is, granted, it's his first year as an actual play caller. So, and that's something that Kellen Moore excelled at, where he kind of knew when to call what and how to play off one call this drive to get a different look. It just seems like if something doesn't work the first time that the Eagles call it, they just never utilize it again, or they'll utilize it in like the weirdest moments, right? Like they had almost like a 20-yard gain or whatever it was on that Jalen Hurts run that he fumbled on. And then you never saw them go empty again and have him run out of it, which is a play that they've had success with so many times in recent years. And you just haven't seen it this year. And I was like, oh, they did it. Then he fumbled and you just never see it again. Or if they have a run that they broke against another team, they'll try it once. And if it doesn't work, they'll just never use it again. It's very frustrating to watch this team at times as far as like the sequencing of the play calling, because they can either find something that works and then do it too much, like that little play action to Dallas Goedert in the flat where the Packers were ready for it after they did it for a 6th time. I mean, granted, he didn't really get his head around for it, but
it's true.
It seemed like the defender was right there anyway. So they either just like keep pressing recent play like it's a Madden menu and just like just spamming the same thing.
It's like, hey, you average 8.7 yards per play on this one.
Yeah,
oh, cool. All right, let's do it again then. We get 8 yards.
Oh, we ran this one play and got -2 yards. Let's just never run it again.
Nope.
It's just like. But then you're taking A.J. Brown off the field to design a deep shot to Darius Cooper, or you're putting just Devontae Smith as the only wide receiver, so you can have Kylan Granson and Grant Calcaterra on the field in 12 personnel. It's like, what are we doing? It's just the usage of the personnel and the timing of it all. It just doesn't make any sense sometimes.
No, it's definitely infuriating. Damon's with a 5. I'm getting to these super chats too, by the way. Apologies, but we going off on a tangent. Appreciate you guys. Damon's with a 5 says, so I guess we're getting rid of AJ because he's in quotes, distraction. I stand by everything AJ said. So he did talk earlier about the clarification for his
did he? I didn't
Twitch
hear
comments. Yeah, there's lots of, obviously the chat has been, it feels like pretty much nonstop going back and forth over some of these topics, or at least within what he said. But it's, both can be true. All sides can be true. AJ, I understand him being frustrated, and I would be too. He's not wrong. Yes, we all know it. We understand. The Eagles' offense should be better. There's so many reasons why. It's not just one thing. So he's not wrong in saying that and admitting it and calling it out. The way that he's gone about it at times has been frustrating, and it has been a distraction. Jalen Hurts was asked about this in the press conference earlier as well, and I'm sure a lot of people already saw it. If you didn't, he kind of quickly put that to rest and said what he has said the past couple weeks of, I'm concerned about the collective. So, we got to focus on what the task ahead. We get the Lions. So I think he's kind of like, look, we just get that behind us. It's a narrative. It's a media narrative. It's something that's like, oh, there's more drama, right? Because there's speculation. Was AJ going to get traded at the trade deadline? Did he want out of here? Were other teams calling? All this other stuff. But he didn't get traded, obviously. He's still in the Eagles. He is in their future plans as of right now, whatever you want to believe. But as of right now, he's in their future plans. Jeffrey Lurie said what he did, and we talked about that back before. He doesn't most of the time speak out, especially in the middle part of the season. But for him to come out and say that was like, hey, AJ, you got to get in line a little bit. Like, you may not be wrong, but there's a way to go about things, and there's another way to not do that. And so him kind of publicly making the comments that he did was I think telling. But yes, we like we say, both can be true. There could be a way to do that, and he's not wrong to call it out because everybody can see it. It's not just oh well, he's crazy, right? The Eagles scored 10 points. No, there's no concerns. The Eagles' offense is fine. It's going to be good. Yeah, they need to be better, but it's the same thing that we were saying after the Ravens game, after the Carolina Panthers game last year, even in the playoffs game. Now, we were all at that point, especially in the playoffs, I think that it feels like people get a little bit more of a pass. I could be wrong, but once you get to the playoffs, if you have a bad game, but you win the game, people are just like, yeah, whatever. Like, we won. Who cares? Because it's the playoffs and it's just survive in advance. In the regular season, it feels like there's more of like micro analytical analysis on it and saying like, oh, but what we won, but this is not sustainable and they got to do these other things. But yes, they do need to have some more trickery, some nuanced things. It's confusing. It's frustrating. The fact that, like we said, you saw it before the bye week. You come out of the bye week. I was hopeful. I know you were hopeful. Everybody, I believe, was hopeful of like, oh, you get an extra week to prep for this thing? Come on. Like, you come out of the week, Green Bay in Lambeau, cold weather football game. Let's get KP just starting right where they left off. I know it was the Giants, but we saw so many different alignments. It's like, man, this thing could be humming. And it was kind of laying an egg for three quarters for all phases. KP was not in his best game. Jalen Hurts missed some throws that we were talking about. The O-line played not very good at all. And thankfully, your defense held on long enough. And Sirianni even tried to kind of lose the game at the end. Maybe. Depends on if he was the one. I don't know who called the fourth down play. That's a whole nother topic. But
I was gonna say that's a whole nother discussion. But regarding AJ Brown, I tweeted about it multiple times, and I know people want to say that like, oh, the media caused all of this, and I tweeted this, that I think AJ Brown has done more than his fair share of fanning the flames to kind of drum up this, and I think that's intentional. I think he's very aware of what he's doing.
mm-hmm.
He knows that because of his salary, he probably wasn't going anywhere this season. Like, if he's frustrated with his role, he can kind of say whatever he wants, and nothing's going to really be done to him until he's satisfied, I guess. But the thing that I get frustrated with from the outside is it's almost like he says one thing and then does another, right? Like, so he says during his 8-minute meeting with the press today, he would say early on that like, it's not about the targets, it's not about stats, it's not about all I care about is winning. But literally his next answer was, I want to be more involved. I want to contribute to the winning. Like, this isn't sustainable, whatever. And then there are games like the Vikings game or the Rams game where he goes off. He has 100+ yards and a touchdown, but then there are still the social media posts. So are you happy with winning and contributing? Like, are you good, or do you just want to put up 2,000 yards and be an all-pro receiver on the worst team in the NFL? Like, which one is it? You can't play both sides of the fence. You can't say it's all about winning, but then I want my stats. Like, if they won and you didn't get your stats, you said it yourself. I'm talking to AJ Brown, apparently. He said that he said all of the right things to the media after the game, and they still made a story. I don't remember reading a single story, like a post-game story after the game, that was about anything that AJ Brown did wrong. The only thing that AJ Brown's name was brought up with was regarding that final play that, like, who called it? Was it something that Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown did on their own? That was it. There was nothing about his production, like, negatively as far as what AJ Brown did or said. But then everybody else, like myself, woke up to the clips of him on the stream saying that, like, if you have him in fantasy, drop him. If it's a shit show, whatever, excuse my French, like, like he said all these things.
Oh yeah.
So he brought this entirely on himself with those comments on the stream. Was he right for a lot of what he said? Absolutely. But at the same time, do you think that Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, and Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, these people aren't, or the offensive line, aren't frustrated with how the offense is playing? Like, there's a certain way to go about things. And I know we talk about mental health, and I get that. I understand he struggled with that in the past. But at the same time, it feels like a lot of this is brought on by himself, this season specifically, with the social media posts and things like that. Because this is the same player that, when he broke the franchise record and had 6 consecutive games of 100 plus yards, he was also avoiding talking to the media and like calling into the radio station to address things and things like. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what I don't know what's going to make AJ Brown happy at the end of the day, and that's why I tweeted out that I don't think there is an easy solution. It's not just fire Kevin Patullo and everything is fine, because he was frustrated with other offense coordinators. He literally won the Super Bowl and said he wasn't happy. Like, he wanted to be a beast and he wants to be considered the best receiver in the NFL and all these things. So I just don't understand. He just talks in circles in a way and contradicts himself. And that's what's frustrating, because you think you know what the guy wants, and then he kind of goes and does another thing. So it's crazy.
I know. Well, yeah, it's the difficulty, or one of the many difficulties of having so many good players. Because regardless of if he wanted to have, all these, and that's it. That's an if, right? It's if he needs to have 100 yards a game, a touchdown almost every game, 5-10 catches, whatever, Jamar Chase numbers, wherever it is. But if he needed to have that, well, they got so many weapons, and the way that they target it is even, and again, is the offense where it needs to be, could be everything? No, but even when the offense is firing on all cylinders, it's back and forth. Like, you can point to other cases where, hey, sometimes, yeah, AJ has a game where it's crazy. Sometimes, very rarely, because we talked about this in the Vikings game, what Smitty and AJ did on that game does not happen hardly ever. Like, it was one of the 6 times or something in NFL history both receivers had I forget the exact metric that it was, but it was a cutoff line that's like that does not happen very often. It's only one other time for the Eagles franchise, and like 6 times in the NFL. So those types of just Madden stat numbers doesn't happen. Now, AJ could and should have more, and they should get him involved. And even watching the game at Lambeau, this is another part of like being there in person that you could see more so obviously than the broadcast, because you only get the certain angles. And I was like, I'm going to watch this and just see, because I got a couple questions before the game. Haven't seen him in person before, but all right, let's see. Like, how do AJ and Jaelen interact? How is AJ just fitting in within the offense? I don't know exactly 100%. I don't think it's one person necessarily. It's frustrations for sure, but the vast majority of the time, it's like AJ just seems so disconnected. Like, and I know he's frustrated with it, but he seems so disconnected in the body language and being out there and 70% effort. Like, I'm just saying, I've watched him when he's going all out, and watch him when it's like, yeah, he knows he's not going to get the ball. Now, the flip side of that argument is, for sure, Jaelen hardly ever looked his way. Like, there were a couple times I'm like, AJ's wide open. And a couple years ago, are you kidding me? There's no doubt in my mind. Jalen's taking a snap and immediately looking to AJ first. Regardless, I mean, you could almost say forget what the play call is. Like, that's Jalen's going to draw back, he's going to look at AJ. So there's been changes systemically of, like, whether it's the play call, whether it's a look there, whether there's some sort of at odds, whether it's a combination of those. But on Monday night, I was like, dude, AJ is literally just a decoy. They threw him to the very first play of the game, and I was sitting there thinking about this too. It's like, was that just a ploy to say to Green Bay, oh, hey, no, AJ's a focus. Like keep your eye on him, because we're going to go to him first. And then basically don't target him again for the rest of the game. Now, they ran routes to kind of run Smitty off of, or Goddard off of, that got those guys open. And the Packers still have to account for it, because it's A.J. Brown. You know that he can be a game breaker. But the limited amount of times, and there's a few that, I shared on the video. I'm sure everybody's seen that by now on social media and the other film sessions. But, like, AJ was open. There were multiple occurrences where he was open. He didn't get the ball thrown his way. Some, you could argue and say Jaelen was looking that direction, but there were a couple others during the game where, like I say, it was not even going to get looked at. Like, there was no doubt in anybody's mind there of, okay, Jaelen takes a snap. He's looking one side of the field, and he's never going to even consider AJ. So I don't know. Like you said, is AJ accurate in his assessment? Yes, but there's so many different tangents and side stories and arguments, analysis that you can go with for it, that it's like it doesn't quite make sense. There's multiple things that are adding up, but Even like Lane Johnson said, he called out the offense, but then there was a little bit of backlash or whatever you want to call it, right? Because he said what he did, but then he even came back and he said, "Yeah, not again, not again." Now I don't know if that was just the team having a conversation with him, if it was Sirianni, if it was just him self-reflecting and going, that came off wrongly. It created too much of a distract, whatever it was. But since that moment, he's talked, but he's not going in there going like, "Oh yeah, the offense is just terrible," right? Or just, I'm paraphrasing, but putting that out there. So I don't know. It's always going to be a story, though. We could go out there and beat the Lions, honestly, 40-10, and AJ have 200 yards receiving, and it'll still be a story because somebody's going to, but it's one game. And then, you have just one game that goes to the next assessment of, well, there you go. See, the offense is not fixed. They've got issues. So I don't know. Kind of the similar thing that we've been dealing with, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's just there's no easy, simple solution. Like you mentioned, if he goes out on Sunday night and has 150 yards and the Eagles beat the Lions, it's going to be like, why can't they do that all the time? Or there's going to be a mic that catches him, like, throw me the ball or whatever. Like there's going to be something that just keeps the ball rolling and doesn't ever quiet the noise. And unfortunately, I think this is going to be something that goes into the offseason, and where there's going to be, that's when you're going to hear trade rumors and things like that. I'm sure. I don't think that's going to quiet down in the offseason at any means. So I'm fully expecting that to happen, but it's been such a weird season as far as AJ Brown goes, because you have those games where he gets 10 targets, 8 receptions, 100 yards, and touchdowns. Like, great, more of that. And then the next game, like you said, everything looks so disconnected. And then there was the one game that he didn't play, where they had arguably their best offensive performance of the year.
Yeah,
everybody, like, everything looked like it was clicking, and it's just like, wait, why can't they do that when AJ Brown comes in? And then he comes in, and then obviously against Green Bay, things just didn't look right. But it's not one simple solution, like I said, and I don't know what the answer is. And I think what AJ Brown is saying or trying to say is 100% right, but I don't necessarily agree with how he's gone about it.
Yeah, I think so too. Christopher with a 5, multiple super chats here. I'm going to get to these. Appreciate you guys. Christopher says, guys, I don't care whose fault it is for the offense, quarterback, coaches, both. It's trash. $250 million offense, and it ranks almost at the bottom. AJ is 100% right, by the way. Like we've been saying here, it should be better. It could be better. If it's kind of the reverse of what we said, I guess almost at the start of last season. Hey, if the defense can be, I think, what was it? We're like, if the defense can be top 10, then this team has really good chances to be contenders. And now it's like, if the offense could be 15, middle of the pack, they absolutely contenders, like without a doubt, because of the defense. And unfortunately, that's where they're at. It's a first year play caller. It's an offensive line that is literally average at best. Like, you can't argue anything better than the offensive line. I know they've been banged up, but it's not the same offensive line at all. And then for all the other reasons that we've mentioned, for issues in passing game and receivers and all that other stuff. So I don't know. Philly Boy with a 10, though. This is a positive here. I know that you'll like this. Predicting Willie Lampkin will play fullback this season.
Yes. I mean,
the double jumbo package.
I don't know if they're going to actually do it, but I tweeted about it as a not such a joke, but a joke. It was like, put Fred Johnson as the second tight end, obviously Dallas Goedert as tight end 1, and then put in Willie Lampkin at fullback. I would love to see that on like one random play at least this season, but I mean, Lampkin has to be activated first for that, obviously, to happen. But it would be pretty funny to see. If they're going to use Kylan Granson, Grant Calcaterra, and Dallas Goedert out there and run 13 personnel, why not put out 2 guys that could actually block instead of those guys? So, also, I wrote about it as well. Cameron Latu needs to play more. He had some really good blocks, including one against Micah Parsons in the open field, which is just not easy to ask of anybody. So, to me, he should be tight end too, but that's a whole another discussion.
Another argument. Grant can't block, so, And yes, catch, I was saying, could be better. Yes, could be, should be better, however you want to phrase it. Yes, the offense is not playing up to the standard. They know that. Watch the video, watch the press conferences. Jaelen said it. Sirianni said it. All the players said it. They understand. Smitty said it as well, in his interview. He's like, yeah, we understand that. We understand that it's not great. They're finding ways to win, and That's ultimately the most important thing, but sure, absolutely, 100%. It needs to be better. Damien's with a 5. Didn't they get rid of CJ GJ because he was a distraction? That was totally different, though. That was a completely different sort of distraction. Um, yeah. When you're doing things in the locker room that shouldn't be done or on the practice field, and there's more of a common denominator, even if at some point AJ were to get traded, and I'm not saying this is total speculation or not even speculation, hypothetical. Even if AJ were to get traded, that would only be his second move, right? Like AJ or CJ's on, what are we now? Seven different moves or something like that. So there's a way different common denominator on distraction, other issues, not worth it in the locker room, wherever that falls. So yeah, like I don't know. I get the thought of bringing that up, but no, that's not a fair comparison or even close with the CJ versus AJ analogy there.
Yeah, that's more of, it seems like AJ Brown's frustrations is more of like a performance based thing, not like people hate his personality or like or things like that, like more like off
Right.
field stuff. This is strictly like more like he wants to contribute on the field. He's frustrated because the offense isn't living up to expectations. Is he, like I said, getting the message across in the right ways? Maybe not. That's up for your like interpretation. But it seems like with CJ Gardner Johnson, it was more of like a off the field. Maybe people weren't too happy about like his personality in the locker room or how he was getting along with people or things like that. But one last thing on for the offense, I meant to say it last time we were talking about the offense, but if you actually look, and I don't want to be too much of a nerd here, but I was listening to the Ringers Philly special, and Shil Kapadia had brought up that their DVOA record ranking and their EPA ranking, which is two metrics that kind of take into account situations or the strength of opponent, things like that. The Eagles' offense, surprisingly, I believe is top 10 in both of those categories this season. So it's kind of crazy because obviously they just put up 10 points, and we've talked about how much the offense has struggled and how AJ
Mm-hmm.
Brown hasn't been involved in things like that. But in certain metrics that a lot of people value a lot higher than typical traditional stats of passing yards, things like that, they actually rank in the top 10. So that is just kind of
Okay.
crazy to,
There you
to
go.
think about.
And red zone offense. For all the other issues, if they can get to the red zone, then they've been the best in the NFL. So they just got to get inside the 20. That's the difficulty. Once they get there, we're fine. Kenny Bills with a 5. I loved AJ, but I'm over all the drama. I say package him in a deal with the Browns for Myles Garrett and let him go get a lot of those targets there and lose. Maybe so, Kenny. That's a whole other conversation for the offseason and after we've won the second Super Bowl, or the back-to-back Super Bowls. Um, I, I don't know. It's all hypotheticals. Like, where do we want to
I,
go with that? So,
I feel like the second the Eagles season ends, no matter when it ends,
oh
there's
my
going to be
gosh,
like
yes.
an article posted almost immediately that's like top 10 trade packages for AJ Brown. Like it's just going to be
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
right
People are
away.
waiting
So
for it. They're so ready, and even like just the rumored reports. But yeah, it's kind of the automatic go to. Dylan with a 5. I hate to be that guy, but if you could go back to draft day at 31, Will Johnson was available, and at 62, Xavier Watts was too. Love Campbell though a lot. Were we
uh,
going back to? Would we pass on? Is that? I guess that's what Dylan's saying. The would rather have Will Johnson and not Jahad Campbell.
I mean, I still think the Jahad Campbell pick was the right pick, especially because you basically had no idea of knowing how good Nakobe Dean was going to be when he came back to full health, right? Like now, obviously, he looks phenomenal. You couldn't have asked for Nakobe Dean to coming off of that injury that he suffered to look as good as he has now. Like it's really been a gift for the Eagles defense. And I know people are like, oh well, now Jahad Campbell has to play in like these awkward spots where he's like playing a little bit on the inside, a little bit on the outside. Like it's going to stunt his growth and things like that. Like these are all like champagne problems. Like other teams wish they had three linebackers that are the caliber of Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond, and Jahad Campbell. So it's up for Vic Fangio to kind of figure it out. I personally think you can't take Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond off the field right now with
Yeah,
the way they're playing. You could kind of just figure out some way to utilize Jahad Campbell for 10 to 15 snaps, however you want to do that. But I don't think they should be forcing him onto the field in places of Nakobe Dean. I feel like the defense has looked significantly faster, like more aggressive since he returned. and they should only improve moving forward with that. And regarding Drew Makuba, the only player that I might have taken over him, I believe he was drafted after Drew Makuba, was Harold Fannin Jr. Because I
Ah,
think
yes. Yep.
what I think tight end is going to be a massive need moving forward. Their second tight end has been very underwhelming no matter who they put there this year, and he's obviously been playing very well in Cleveland. So I would have liked to see him in Philadelphia, but then obviously, who is your second safety, right? Because Drew Makuba has played relatively well. I know he's had hiccups here and there. So I don't think I would actually change it, but Harold Fannin Jr. would be a player that I would consider in the second round instead.
Been fun to watch. We'll say that. Definitely getting involved with Cleveland. There's another Cleveland potential trade though, of course, so if people are looking at that. But that's like I say, that's for the offseason. That's for some other story. There's a lot bigger reasons, bigger things to get involved in. Shady Luke with a 5. I don't think this is nothing, or I don't think this is nothing like Brian Johnson, like I've seen at times. It's like you guys say, inconsistent. They show they can get hot at times. There you go. They do. There's been moments. There's been spurts. There's been quarters. There's been halves. There's been one game.
Yeah,
and there's been half a quarter at times. But they
like I said,
the consistency.
I know it's frustrating because we're literally going into week 11, and it's like, what is this team's identity? They haven't put a full game together on offense. Like, what is going on?
It feels like the defense is there. We have half the identity now.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's tough, but it's just I don't know. I really don't see them making a change at offensive coordinator. I think Kevin Patullo is going to be the guy, and they're just going to have to figure it out, like sink or swim. And maybe they bring in an offensive consultant, and maybe they try and keep that under wraps, or maybe we will see something announced. But
yeah,
I don't think Kevin Patullo is going to be fired. So it's up for them to kind of figure it out. And like I said, I thought they showed some flashes against the Packers, although they obviously only scored 10 points. I think the film was a little bit better than I expected, like watching the game as far as like the original broadcast, and then watching the All-22, it felt like there were chances that they missed, or plays that either Green Bay like just barely made and the Eagles had something brewing. Like, there's a lot to look back, but obviously it's all hypothetical. You want to see them actually execute on the field, and that's what matters. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Big game. Green Wingman with a 20 bomb. Appreciate that. Thank you for the 20. Here's actually kind of into that same line of thought. It says, hope you and, I think this is a typo, hope you and Andrew, I believe that was Anthony, but
I could change my name.
Call him Andrew. Andrew here in the stream tonight. Anthony's alter ego. Hope you and Andrew are right about the defense. Detroit's coming into the link feeling they should have been in last year's Super Bowl. Like the 23 Niners who started our collapse, the Eagles offense needs to execute better. It's funny because that's the third or fourth DM or comment, super chat, whatever, throughout various social media platforms that I've seen bring up that thought of like, hey, you remember what happened with the Niners coming to town? I'm kind of scared, cautious, with this possibly happening here in the Niners. Detroit's a physical team. Dan Campbell's talking about it as if, I saw some people joking like that he's going into Afghanistan and not Philadelphia. It will be a hostile
environment. That's not a place you want to be.
It's maybe not quite to that extreme, but it will be hostile, right? It's a big game, Sunday Night Football. It's not 2023 in the sense of the defensive battle because we have a defense and we saw what they did. And that part, I think, can be good. The Lions also run a lot of man coverage. We'll talk about it extensively in the game preview video, but just for that in itself, I'm not concerned. We could very well lose. Like, I'm not saying that I think that it's a foregone conclusion we're going to win the game, but we could lose the game. But I do not see this one being the same sense of like, oh man, they just got flat out embarrassed. They weren't ready to play and dominated in every single phase of the game like it was for the Niners. I'm not as concerned. At the same time, to the last part of that super chat, it is true, like we continue to say, the Eagles offense needs to execute better.
Absolutely. And I think I actually obviously I didn't think of that exact analogy, but I kind of viewed going into Lambeau against the Packers in a similar situation to when they played the Niners that year, where it's like a very physical team. The defense is so good, but the offense might not be like the most explosive unit in the NFL, but they were good. They have Josh Jacobs on the ground. Like, there were kind of some similarities there. So I do actually appreciate that analogy, but like, I don't know. I feel like the Lions are almost making this a bigger thing than the Eagles might be, because like you said, they lost to the Commanders last year. They didn't kind of get their chance to play the Eagles. So I'm really excited to see these two teams finally like duke it out. And I think before the season, I said like if I can get tickets to one game, this would probably be it. Like I think this is going to be a really really fun game. Like basically the complete opposite of last week. I think this is going to be a
We're
little
not
more
going to get
higher
a 10 to
scoring.
7 game. We're not
I hope
3-0 at the
not.
end of the third
I mean,
quarter.
I don't see that happening, but
Back to
you
back.
never know. I didn't see that happening in Green Bay either. But I think it's going to be a really fun matchup to watch regardless because there's been so much kind of jawing back and forth, especially from the Lions with Amon-Ra St. Brown talking about the Eagles in the offseason and things like that. So it's going to be fun to see how they match up. And like you mentioned, how much man coverage they utilize. They utilize some weird like defensive fronts where everybody but like one guy is standing up, so you don't really know who the rusher is going to be. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles offense and Jalen Hurts handle that as well. So it's going to be a fun battle on both sides of the ball.
Vic Fangio versus Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's taking over play calling, so look out. Fangio's got the message to send there. Eagle One, Matt with a 20 bomb. 20 Philly Special Show memberships. Congratulations to the 20 of you. Thank you, Matt. It was great to meet in person. And again, everybody else, a second ago, but everybody else that was there in Green Bay, it was cool to get the pick. Skylar's dad actually was there, and it's funny because the score prediction, we were just like talking to some others and like, oh, I'm 27-17 was what I said. And it was ironic. He called this out on one of the comments of the videos, and I forgot about it. But then I was like, oh, yeah, I remember we had this conversation. And I laughed when he said it because he's like, my score prediction is it's either going to be 3-0 or it's going to be 47-46. And at the end of the third quarter, it was 3-0 still. So, he wasn't that far off, which I laughed at it at the time, and it wasn't too far off. That was probably the closest prediction, I would imagine, because I don't think many people had anything close to 10-7. Damon's with a 2. He wants consistency. Okay. Yeah, as far as just AJ and the comments and everything else. Yeah, I mean, we all would love to see consistency. More everything, really, from the offense. But, the offensive line, banged up. They got 4 starters that are limited. It was a walkthrough today, so it was an estimation. But limited would have been probably their designation. Lane Johnson, though, I would expect that at least 3 of the guys are going to be back. Landon Dickerson, Tyler Steen, Lane Johnson. Maybe not Cam Jurgens. His whole deal has been delayed, obviously, with the injury. He was out last week, so they might try to slow play that. But I would be surprised if they don't have at least 3 of those 4 guys, returning or playing by Sunday. So got to have the O-line playing up to the standard we've seen previously, though. It's not been, as we've said, anything close to what it was last year.
I'm going to call my shot here and say that I think all 5 of the starting offensive linemen are going to play this week.
Oh, okay. Cam's coming back.
I think the fact that I know it was an estimated thing, just a walkthrough, but the fact that he was even limited, I think is promising. And I also think the fact that they didn't place him on IR means that he's obviously he missed 2 games already, right? So I think he's going to be returning obviously either this week or next week. Otherwise, they should have just placed him on IR. Obviously, things could have just went differently than when they initially anticipated, and he eventually ended up missing 4 games. But if they don't place a guy on IR, that usually means they're going to come back in 3 or 4 games. But I think this is the big matchup where like you would have liked to have him last week, but coming out of the bye week, obviously he didn't practice. So I think that maybe they were just holding him off, and now this one they felt comfortable. It's at home, like they can kind of get him acclimated another week, get him back to full health to come back against the Lions. So I do think, I could be obviously wrong, but I think we're going to see all 5 of the starters against the Lions.
Okay. Heard it here first. 5 starters on the offense. I would love to see that. We, get this group back to, first off, healthy, I guess, and hopefully as healthy as they can be. But against a team like the Lions, going to need the line to play up to the standard. Luciousness with a 5. Guys, it's clear that AJ wants to be traded to the Patriots and causing a lot of distractions in the meantime. Well, it wouldn't happen until after the season if it does. I guess at this point, I won't say that I'll be totally shocked if that does happen. But again, it's not until the end of the season. And he still could very easily remain with the Eagles. They could figure some stuff out. We could get rolling. There could be some momentum. And we may look back on this like some other drama situations and go, hey, you remember how that was? Yeah, that was crazy. It felt like the sky was falling. And then yet, the Eagles were in the Super Bowl again. So I don't think that that's totally unrealistic. I know that there's some people out there that are pessimistic. It's like, oh, bro, you're crazy. You're crazy to think this is going to happen. But they've won against a bunch of really good teams, and we've seen the NFL is just crazy. It's nuts this year. But the Eagles have won against really good teams and on the road. Like they're going into people's houses and winning these games. Some of them that they're not favored in, which tells you what Vegas feels about that game. The Eagles were not favored against the Packers, yet they still walk away with another win against an opponent that's a head-to-head tiebreaker, like we mentioned. So they're finding ways to win despite not playing, I mean, anywhere close. I don't know if we did it on like a scale of 1 to 10, like, hey, 10 is their optimum performance level and 1 is, getting blown out. But the Eagles are definitely not operating anywhere close to 8, 9, 10 category of certainly offensive side, but as a team as a whole, it's like they're getting these wins and they're at a 6 of 10 of their full talent and ability. That kind of is a win in itself.
Yeah, then there feels like there's like either two different ways that you could look at how the Eagles have done so far, right? Like it's like that meme where it's like the two sides of the bus and one guy's looking at like the dark like village just like falling apart and the other one's like looking at the sun. So it's like there are fans that are like, hey, they're 7-2 despite the offense being really bad sometimes, and like they're still the top team in the NFC like as far as standings go. And then there's the other ones that's like they're 7-2, but they should be 2-7, and this is just going to come back to bite them. It's 2023 all over again. So it's like I've always said that I'm more of like a glass half full kind of guy. I think I'm always going to try and be a little bit more positivity. Like there's enough negativity in the world. I don't need to really weigh it down too much, which is kind of why I get so frustrated with the AJ Brown stuff. But anyway, regarding that, I do think, and I tweeted about it before the trade deadline and people ripped me to shreds, that I do think they are going to entertain trade offers or potentially the idea of trading AJ Brown in the offseason. And I mean, the Patriots would make a lot of sense. I mean, he's been very vocal about being a fan of that team and Tom Brady and all that growing up. If you look at the comparisons, I've already seen multiple people compare the AJ Brown situation to the Tyreek Hill situation with the Chiefs, where the team had success. He was putting up numbers, but for some reason it just didn't work out. Obviously he was traded to a bit of a run. Then they're like, oh, he's the missing piece. It looks like the Patriots are in position to impress, exceed expectations, and then they had that rookie quarterback. So what's to say? Obviously the Mike Vrabel tie. So it makes a ton of sense from the outside looking in. But like you said, who knows what's going to happen in these next couple of months. Luckily, we don't have to talk about any trade rumors or things like that right now. We can just enjoy the rest of the season. But I do think it's something that we're going to be talking about in March, April, and whatever else.
Yeah, definitely feels that way. For where this thing has been and maybe where it's headed. Hero with the 5. AJ saying it's a crap show is true. He shouldn't be giving the media stuff to talk about, though. They desperately want another T.O. situation to happen. Certainly fueling the flames of anything like that. It always gets jumped on for just any sort of comments or outliers like that. But yeah, like if there's any drama, it's going to be taken and run with because, people need a story for one, but then make it beyond that. And like you said, I do believe that AJ knows what he's doing. So using it to maybe tell a narrative, but he's smart enough. It's not like this is the first occurrence or the second occurrence. Like since AJ's been here now, we're going on, I don't know, 6, 7, depends on what you count as, that's kind of another scenario. But it's happened so many times. None of this is new. None of this is like, oh, wow, can't believe. Are you serious? You guys are making a story about this? AJ's done this plenty of times. He knows what's going to happen when he says what he does or when he doesn't say what he does. Like, he understands it. David with a 5. AJ wants to win and be number 1 because he's an Eagle. The media's inherent bias towards the city. Even if he is number 1, he will be slighted. So, unfortunately, tough. Again,
just so you know,
narratives. Yes?
You started chopping up and your screen got laggy. I don't know if it's just my end or if anybody else is seeing that. It's like starting to come back now, but I don't know if that was me or you, but I just want to let you know.
Okay.
You're
my stream was okay, but okay, hopefully we're good.
Right.
Let us know if maybe we it wasn't that important what I was saying, and nobody needed to hear it. If it did mess up, I did for the super chats though. Okay, most people saying not on my end.
All right, cool.
Okay, just you, Andy, is what people are saying. So all right, you're good. Kenneth with the 5. AJ thinks the best version of us is pass heavy. A simple side note, there needs to be a succession plan for a rookie offensive coordinator. Otherwise, we didn't learn from 23. Win the Super Bowl like that, like they didn't have I don't think they had the options that they wanted to be like, hey, we're going to bring in a new OC. Jaelen, you're going to learn a new offense again. The lesser of two evils, I suppose, was just like, hey, look, we got Kevin Patullo. Try to keep it as much of the same as we can and figure this thing out along the way. I will say that, Jaelen, in his press conferences and what he's saying about the offense and his attitude about it and his outlook on things and how he's tried to explain it and everything else, and even the most recent press conference that he had, it does feel like he's still optimistic, even with the struggles. He's like, look, we're trying to learn. We're trying to figure this thing out. We're trying to evolve and everything. And those are different vibes than what it was in 23, because at some point it got to a situation where he was throwing out some passive aggressive, maybe even just aggressive comments. Is like, oh boy, okay, this one is really not in a good way. But he seems totally bought in. He seems, understanding, yes, absolutely, that they need to be better, that things need to change. But it doesn't feel like the same scenario of him just almost like just done with the whole scenario of what the offense is going through, really the team as a whole, but even the offensive situation that it was for 23.
Yeah, and I really liked what he said today when he was asked about kind of the A.J. Brown situation and him even after wins and being productive, kind of going on social media and saying things. He was like, I'm pretty much like, it was like I'm not saying he was aggressive, but Jalen Hurts is usually very methodical in how he says about them. You can almost tell he was a little upset, and then he kind of like reeled himself back in. He was like, I'm not going to like entertain that, basically. I'm like paraphrasing here, but he basically said like he's going to halt that. Like he's not going to entertain the AJ Brown nonsense that like either the media. He said like, I respect that you have to ask that question, but I'm not going to really entertain it. I'm going to focus on, like, he's like, AJ Brown is a pivotal player for us. He plays a huge role. I'm going to focus on the collective and the team as a whole, which is good because you want to like kind of pour water on that and not kind of light the match like AJ Brown might be doing at times. So he's kind of trying to counteract what AJ Brown is doing. So that's not always a fun thing to do in the media and then under that spotlight. And even Nick Sirianni got very frustrated during his press conference earlier today where he was like, I'm not going to answer those questions. At first he was like, he just repeated the same thing, like a very Bill Belichick, Marshawn Lynch way. He's like, I was aware of the play. I knew what they were going to run. I was aware of the play. I knew what they're like. It's like, okay, you could tell he was starting to get ticked off a little bit. So hopefully they turn things around. And as far as like the succession plan as at OC, they have Press Taylor that they brought in. They have Scott Loeffler that they brought in as well. Two guys that have called plays elsewhere. So, I mean, maybe there are options there, but also Brian Daboll was let go. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. You said Press Taylor. I think you meant, was it?
The other guy from the Colts, the Dolphins.
Frazier?
Parks Frazier, yes.
Parks Frazier, there we go. Okay.
Oh, my God.
PTSD. I knew who you were talking about, but I had to. It was kind of hit me for a second. I was like, "That's not the name of it," but yeah, I knew who you were talking about. So I know there's going to be comment. Michael with a 10.
It's been a long day.
Saquon's regression is linked to AJ's lack of involvement. Teams aren't staying honest with our passing game. I was at the game and I was able to just look and tell if we are running or passing. It did feel like they had some sort of a tell, because the number of times that it was like, oh, there's a running play and all 7 secondary guys just come crashing down, and then vice versa, like, oh, there's a pass play called and they just stay back, even if it's play action, they just didn't seem to bite. Most of the time that was the case, and but yeah, there's some self-scouting maybe if it was a tell. I know there was the story that was kind of debunked. There was some maybe honesty to it because Saquon even gave it some credence whenever he was asked about like his head turn, like, if he's looking a certain way, they're like, oh, that's going to be a run play versus not, or a pass play versus not. I don't know. I'm sure they'll try to look at that, but it did seem like the Packers most of the time, I mean, maybe it was guessing. I don't think it was, but if they were guessing, they were very accurate on it because the vast majority of the times, like, oh, they're all come crashing down. There's a running play versus the other instances for the play action.
Yeah, and I think it's Evan Williams, right? Was the safety there? He was just crashing it into the backfield, like you said. Like, he was just flying from depth, or almost like lined up them already as they're at a linebacker. Like, they pretty much knew. It seemed like when the Eagles were going under center or had like multiple tight ends in, that there was going to be a run play, especially early downs. Like, so they kind of, I don't know if they had something on tape before then that had a tell. I mean, there have been many people, Shane Half, countless others that have said like when the Eagles are in this look, they run like 80+% of the time, 85%, 90% of the time. Like, If he's lined up on this side, they run like so. Obviously, the NFL teams are doing way deeper dives into that, and they
Yeah.
have their own numbers and analytics that they use. So there are going to be tells, and it's up to Kevin Patullo and everybody else to kind of break those trends. And who knows, maybe they're going to flip a switch and things will turn around. But it's been a very methodical kind of pace for this offense so far.
Here's some positivity from Fanny. Says, look on the bright side. At least we're not the Browns, Giants, or Jets. At least we know who our quarterback and head coach is. Hashtag fly like an eagle.
That is very true. And I actually had one of my buddies that's an Eagles fan, whose name is also Anthony. He's very down on the team right now. He's very upset about AJ Brown's usage, and he wants Kevin Patullo fired for the last 11 weeks now. He's been down on Kevin Patullo, and I'm like, you're in the golden era, and I've tweeted this before. You're enjoying the golden era of Eagles football right now. I mean, 4 seasons in a row, they've been 7-2 or better through 9 games. I don't think people understand. Like, this is, how many my buddy's a Jets fan. I don't know if he's seen 4 7-2 starts in his life as a fan of the Jets. Like,
probably not.
There are a lot of fans of the other 31 teams in the NFL that wish they had the problems that the Eagles have right now. So it's it definitely I appreciate Fanny kind of keeping things in perspective. It could be a whole lot worse.
There we go.
Than it is in Philadelphia right
yes.
now.
Yep. And the Eagles are well ahead of the division. So, not that that's kind of the sights are take care of business week in and week out, and more so it'd be nice to have NFC number 1 seed locked up and get home field advantage throughout. But, there's some other positivity. The Eagles are well ahead in the division race. All right, multiple other super chats here. Get to these. Brian with the 500, actually. I think is that yen? I don't know what that is. It's a Y. I know Brian's overseas, and I can't remember now. I think maybe it is. Mailata was all over the place versus Green Bay. Not sure what's going on with him. What's your take on Toth's performance? Need the offensive line to step up. Yeah, Jordan did not play that well. There was at least 2 instances where I looked over the sideline and Stout was letting Jordan hear it. He was yelling quite a bit. Couldn't hear what he was saying, but you could tell he was looking right at him and he was letting him hear it. So I don't know. Jordan's had some of those games. There's been instances where it's like, man, he's locked down. There's others that he's admitted himself, like, man, I need to be a lot better. That was a really, really poor performance. The O-line is a collective, as we've said, has not been up to the standard either. Brett Toth was definitely not as good as what he was against the Giants. Like, that was one of the best games we've ever seen him play. But I don't know. It's like it's just a weird thing to assess because you could look at it and go, well, they didn't allow a sack, but they didn't rush very well. And even though they didn't allow the sacks, it felt like it was just kind of all out of sorts, and they were allowing pressures. And as we said, the sequencing, the play calling didn't help things either. So sometimes maybe Jaelen did have enough time, but there's nobody out there to throw to. There's limited receiving options to begin with. So it's just not complimentary football. We didn't see much of that at all.
I think Brett Toth actually played a relatively good game given the situation that he was thrown into, and considering how he played, especially in recent weeks. Obviously, before the bye week in week 8, we talked about how good he played then, but before then, not so good. But I think he's really looked good in back-to-back games, which is impressive and kind of raises your sense of comfortability with like the backup center situation for the rest of the season, especially with Cam Jurgens kind of getting back to full health. So, but overall, I think the offensive line all season long has been a problem where going into the year, it was like, we have no questions about the offensive line. And it's kind of been the opposite because it's, like you said, the guys that you could trust, like a Lane Johnson, a Landon Dickerson, before he got to this guy, like a false start or he's called for this or misses a block here, like very uncharacteristic mistakes from the Eagles offensive line all season long, where it's like just operational stuff too, where it's like a false start or an alignment that they like an assignment that they missed. It's just very weird from a Jeff Stutland coach unit to look this like in this much disarray at times. And I think that's why you see the running game struggling and things like that. Because even when Saquon Barkley did have that big run, it was called back from a holding that I believe on Brett Toth. So it was just like
so
one step forward, 2 steps back. It was a really tough outing for the offense as a whole, but the offensive line certainly didn't help it for the most part.
It was very, very frustrating. As soon as you did that, like I'm yelling and cheering, and then the next thing, look back to the backfield. It's like, God, you got to be kidding me. There's a flag. Just take it back. All right. Go all
with
the way
all that
back
yellow
there.
on field in Green Bay, it's probably hard to see the flag sometimes too. You probably think it's like a Packers
Yeah,
helmet or
yeah,
something.
yeah. There's, oh, okay, hey, we're good. Wait, what? Why is everybody going backwards? Oh, okay, well, another flag, another hold. Take it back. Saquon was upset too, as I would be as well. It's like, man, good run, good effort, all for naught. Alex with the 2. Jihad has not been good at edge. Go back to linebacker. I mean, the beauty is, again, we said this a second ago, but they got so many edges back, or guys now, Jalen Phillips, Nolan Smith, BG. Jihad doesn't really have to or need to, and that was not really where I think any of us saw like a strength, or there were some people that when Jihad got drafted, they're like, oh, he's an edge player and all this. It's like we were talking about it more of the off ball linebacker, and you said what, maybe 20 minutes ago, which is totally true. It's great to have the backup depth. If Nakobe Dean is the starter, which I also agree he should be, Zach Bond, if something ever happened, you got Jihad Campbell. You can rotate in. He can get some snaps. You can put him in there, maybe on the edge. He does have versatility. But, yeah, his ultimate long-term, career role, whatever it is, I think is at off-ball linebacker. And, he's going to keep getting better. He's maybe not going to get the reps that we initially envisioned, but it's a blessing the way that Nakobe's playing, because the defense, especially the run defense, has been night and day difference. I mean, we're talking about 22nd or 24th in the league before Nakobe got back to this lineup. And then as soon as he was here, not that he played all the snaps, of course, but just getting him inserted into the lineup, the team has significantly turned a corner, and they're not allowing, over, I think, 4 yards a carry for the last 3 opponents. So it kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, I feel like right now, I wasn't too crazy about the way Vic Fangio utilized Jihad Campbell. I know he played, I think it was like 32 snaps or something like that. And I feel like they were just trying to almost force him onto the field, where he played, I believe, 10 on the edge and then 22 at inside linebacker or something like that. I feel like he should be somewhere in like that, maybe that 10 to 15 range overall, where if they go in like a dime look, I feel like maybe he would fit in that role as like maybe even as like the 6th defensive back in a way, where he's just like, he's so freakishly big and athletic, where he could almost be like what a safety would be in that situation, where he's like that other slot defender, but he can support, like be in there and on run support, but also obviously make a play in coverage. He did give up a pass, but or was called for pass interference, so like that's a little bit questionable, like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like overall, I think he's a better guy, a better linebacker in coverage than Nakobe Dean. So to me, if like in that regard, you can get him on the field, and then like in obvious, really deep, like 3rd and long passing situations, I think maybe you can take Nakobe Dean out, unless you want to use him as a blitzer, obviously. But you could take Nakobe Dean out if you're going to drop a guy in coverage and put Jihad Campbell and Zach Ball in there in those situations. So I don't necessarily want to see them forcing him to play a ton of snaps, but I think there's some type of little balance that they could find.
Plenty of options, which is dangerous for any other offense. If you're going up against Vic Fangio and he's got options, well, good luck. Morgan with a 5. Man, Nakobe Dean is so good. Feel like he's become the fire/emotional leader of that unit. Is there any world that they can pay him? I mean, it's Howie Roseman, I guess, first off, would be the comment. It might be difficult depending on, Jalen Carter and these other Jalen Phillips and guys that you got to take care of. But
Reed Blankenship.
I wouldn't, but I wouldn't rule it out. Like it is Howie, so he could figure out a way. It does feel like, with obviously drafting Jihad Campbell, though, if worse comes to worse in this scenario and saying like, we can't figure out a way, Nakobe has to walk, at least you have a stud in Jihad Campbell who can continue to develop and grow. So I don't know. I mean, to answer that one, again, I would never say anything's impossible with Howie Roseman, but there's some difficulty there.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because obviously, like you mentioned, Jalen Phillips now, he probably becomes, outside of Jalen Carter, I think he leaps like Nolan Smith and maybe Reed Blankenship as far as like guys that they would want to re-sign as soon as they possibly could in the offseason. So who knows? Maybe he wants to go somewhere where he gets paid a ton of money and then resets the market or something like that. But he also does seem really happy to be in Philadelphia and kind of values the relationship with Vic Fangio and his fit in the city. So if that only improves, I think Jalen Phillips could kind of become their focus after Jalen Carter. But I mean, Nakobe Dean is like, if he comes back, obviously it'd be great if he's willing to kind of take maybe a little bit less money to come back and stay in that rotation. But if he does leave, then Jihad Campbell showed that he was more than capable of kind of filling that role too. Maybe not to the level that Nakobe Dean is at right now, but I think long term he could be even better than Nakobe Dean. So they're in a good spot regardless.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have them all. But Jalen Phillips, as you were kind of making the parallels earlier, feels like there could be the potential of Zach Bond. Zach Bond plays crazy good, and it's like, oh man, you got to take care of him, get the deal done. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, again, for more of the offseason, business, take care of business first. Anthony with 2. The whole an ugly win is getting very old fast. Well, yeah, but they're winning.
Like I mentioned, a lot of fans wish their teams were winning ugly games and then winning at all. So to be here complaining about 7-2, that's just not what I'm going to do.
If they win against the Lions, not to get ahead of ourselves necessarily, but if they win against the Lions, you start looking at the remaining part of that schedule. Nothing's an automatic. You got divisional games in there that can sometimes sneak up on you and be tougher than you expected, and all this other stuff. You got some road games in the mix and everything. But like, you look at the schedule, you beat the Lions, you have head-to-head victories over presumably 4 of the top teams that you'd be competing of in the NFC. The Seahawks, the only one that you wouldn't play head-to-head currently, who are the top competitors or the guys that you're up against. But not a bad scenario. I do understand. It'd be nice to have these blowout victories, and maybe eventually we'll get those. But so far, so good. Taking care of business. Big Birds with a 5. See y'all at the NovaCare. We're protesting this Patullo era comes to an end. Salute.
So it's not going to happen.
I won't be there. I won't be there either. Good luck, I guess. It's not happening. They're still winning games, even as bad as it is. You can say that. Sorry, it's not going to happen with a 7-2 team that is continuing to. I mean, they're showing spurts occasionally, but they're not all out of sorts. Brian, 500 more. Appreciate that, man. Says defense is stacked. Who do you think we keep after the season? Need to keep Campbell, especially on rookie package. Don't want to lose Dean though. Again, we're getting to this one a little bit later. I think we talked through that for the most part. Jalen, Phillips, Jod Campbell would be my prediction. If you had to say, are you going to lose somebody? It probably go with Nakobe Dean for the reasons that you mentioned earlier, as well, because you draft a guy and you do have that depth, and eventually it's the changing the guard, whether it's a little earlier than you expected or wanted. But I think that's kind of what we discussed a second ago. So Eric with a 5. Got to love the way QB1 is handling the A.J. Brown drama. Shows true leadership. Go Birds. He's just kind of like, hey, we're done. Move on.
It's like I'm gonna halt that. That's his new word. I'm gonna halt that right there.
That. I like
You're
it.
not.
Yep.
Just put up a barricade. No AJ Brown drama here.
Little control over. Yeah. He's like, okay, we're doing. Let's talk about the Lions. Let's talk about the important stuff. The collective.
He did it politely though. He's like, I know you got to. I respect you have to ask that question.
Which
basically, I'm not going to entertain.
He gave him some credit. Yep. Give him a little kudos, and like, we're not going to answer that though. Dylan with a 5. Honestly, think if the run blocking was like last year, KP wouldn't be so bad. In my opinion, if the run game was like last year, we'd be good. I think that's very, very accurate, because again, we say this best argument you could make, and this might be inflating it a bit too much, but the best argument you could make would be the Eagles' offensive line is average, and that's probably stretching it. Like I say, they're not even really average. If they were the best offensive line, especially run blocking, but the best run blocking offensive line this season, we've said this in the past too, but it almost doesn't matter. It didn't matter last season. There's instances where it did not matter what they called. It was, the box is loaded, inside zone. Sure, why not? The analytics don't say it. This year definitely does not say to run that play, but last year you'd run the exact same play, and there goes Saquon, 70-yard touchdown, because the blocking the guys were just better. Maybe they're healthier, a combination of all those, but like good players and good execution hides or makes good play calling better wherever you fall in that argument, and it makes life easier for Kevin Patullo, because if he knows he can get 5 yards on a carry like almost every single time, then like we all, I think the vast majority understands this, you can call a whole lot more plays if in the back of your pocket you're like, hey, well, we need 5 yards, run it with Saquon, we'll be good.
Well, that's why they were able to do the tush push so much and kind of make that such a topic last season, right? Because we were able to get into these 3rd and 2 situations. Now you get to 4th and 1, and it's just like, but now they're just behind the sticks so often because their running game isn't working. And for some reason, Kevin Patullo is still calling the offense as if they've been able to break off these huge runs, and they just haven't happened. So I would like to see them pass a little bit more on like the early downs, and that might be a way of getting AJ Brown or like earlier targets and more targets and kind of get him more involved with, even if it's a screen pass or a 5-yard slant, like just to get him the ball and get him involved and engaged early and often. I feel like that would be the way to kind of do good by AJ Brown and good for the offense at the same time, because these early down runs are obviously becoming predictable and they're not effective. So there's no point in running them, obviously, and honestly, in my eyes.
It would be nice to, I mean, honestly, even if we were not converting third downs, but it was like, hey, third and 3, we didn't convert, it would be a little bit, I know it'd be frustrating, but it would be a little bit of a breath of fresh air, because like, well, it's 3rd and 3, we didn't convert, instead of these 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12s, where you kind of already are thinking we're probably not going to convert it, and then they just run the ball. So you're like, well, we definitely weren't going to convert that one. At least at 3rd and 3, you go, okay, they're doing some things right on 1st and 2nd down to get to that short yardage. Now we have a whole other issue, but I would probably take that at that point. All right, let's see. We got a couple other super chats here, and then I'm going to get to the spin for the giveaway. A little bit longer stream, but obviously reach for the cap. That's as far as the AJ trade, I believe. But yes, if you're looking at numbers and financials and everything else there. Curtis with a 5. This is what happens when you have a team of superheroes or superhero players. Everyone can't get the ball. There's only so many mouths to feed.
And it only seems like there's one
certain element.
Superhero that's taking issue with that, but that's we've already talked about enough.
A little bit earlier. Matt with a 10 was great meeting you and your wife. Thank you. It was great to meet you as well. Both of y'all. Everyone else, Chicago. Chicago never have a problem. Wish we had you two back in the TO times. LOL. Don't know that I would have wanted to deal with all the drama back there. I remember, brief moments of it, obviously watching those, but yeah, to the extent of like the full coverage and everything, I was not involved as much of all the media drama, just seeing some of those videos. Let's see. We got CS with a 5. The winning motto used to be, we didn't play to the standard. Why is AJ the villain for wanting to play to the standard? What happened to the motto? I think the motto's the same. It's kind of, as we said, it's the going about it, the way that he has. The playing to the standard is certainly true, and he's not wrong. As we said, there's a lot of things that he said that are accurate. It's just some ways of showing that.
I think AJ Brown might have a different standard than everybody else.
And that's also true, yes. If
10 of the starters might be obviously led by Jalen Hurts, or the standard is to win, right? He always talks about how if it's ugly, whatever, like they win, that's the goal. Whereas AJ Brown's like, that's my goal. My standard is to win, but in parentheses, it's like, and AJ Brown has 8+ catches for 100+ yards and 2 touchdowns, or it's not my standard. So, I mean, like we've talked for like probably an hour on AJ Brown by now, so I'm just
it's been a lot.
Kind of tired of it. But yeah, it's just
we covered it from every angle.
I said, he's talked in circles, so yeah, I don't necessarily feel entirely bad for being a little bit talking about him.
It just gets frustrating because and again, it's like the team should be better. The offense should be better. I've said that a million times on the stream, said it a million times over the course of the weekend, talking to everybody else. Totally fair, but it is a little bit frustrating whenever you're coming away from this and going like, there are still some exciting elements, and that part of the negativity is stealing the vast majority of a lot of the headlines and the stories that you see. And you know why that is, but it's still like, come on. There's so many, like if that did not happen, the first day about was Jalen Phillips, and it was like, oh, let's go. Like, some excitement. Again, there was, hey, offense needs to be better, all this other, but there was still a lot of excitement. But then that comes out, and then there's kind of the talking in circles, as you said, and everything else. And now all of a sudden it's kind of, the Eagles are 7-2, and they are atop the NFC, but lots of focus elsewhere, which maybe that's good. Just fly under the radar because people are like, oh, wait, they are 7-2. It feels like a complete disjointedness depending on who you're listening to. But Patrick with a 5, the offense is worrisome, but I think getting Jurgens back could be a big deal to help the O-line. Centers make a ton of calls, even if Toth blocks well.
Yeah, it feels like they haven't played a game all season where the offensive line was actually all fully healthy, right? Because
Hmm.
even like the start of the year, Landon Dickerson, you could tell he was not right. Even Cam Jurgens was still recovering from like the back injury, and then Lane Johnson's been in and out. Jordan Mailata's been like the only one that's been able to pretty much stay in there, but Tyler Steen too. But they haven't obviously played to the level that we expected at all times. So it would be nice to have all five guys back against the Lions and hopefully for the rest of the season.
Yes, it would. Hey, John with the. Oh, I think no. Yeah, I missed this one a second. John with the 5. When we win against the Lions. When we win against. I said if we win against the Lions. So when we win against the Lions, go Birds. Go
Sounds good.
Birds. You're right. I like the optimism. When we win against the Lions, let's keep that up. I think they're 2.5. The Eagles are 2.5 point favorites, I believe, if people are keeping track for some reason. Aisha with a 10. Hey guys, people turning on AJ for speaking facts is crazy. There were passing issues last year too. AJ should be schemed open and used in play action. Just figure it out by postseason. Go Birds. Be nice to figure out some other usage and offensive play calling and passing game and everything else and have everyone happy and, but we'll see. People, the other part to this, like maybe the optimism or glass half full or whatever, is like people saw the comments, right, that BG made and heard them after the Carolina game. That was late in the season when Carolina should have very easily beaten us, and thankfully Xavier Legette dropped the football. But when that happened, people were going. I remember lots of comments of like BG, saying, "Oh, hey, 11, one's trying. 11 needs to give him some grace." Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but like needs to give him some grace, and they got to figure things out. They used to be friends. Life happens. Blah blah. Right. So there was like, whoa, okay, we've sensed that something is off, but then BG came out and said it, and then he tried to backtrack it and all this other stuff that the Eagles were maybe covering up or maybe it was legit, who knows, but they tried to move on. But there were a lot of comments I remember back at that point going like, oh, we're cooked. Like, that's it. There's no way we're going to go far because if they're out of sorts, this team is just going to collapse, or the morale, the locker room, whatever. Something is off. It continues to be off. But overall, we saw this team still go and win the Super Bowl. And you've seen some of the mic'd up clips even after the game of Jaelen going up to AJ and saying kind of basically like, hey, it's not always been easy, right? But like we got it done, and they kind of dap each other up, like, hey, we got it, cool, celebrate, whatnot. They don't have to be best friends. That has not been the case now for the last couple seasons. But I still believe, even if there's some at odds and some frustration and it's some ebb and flow, there's no concern of saying, oh, it's absolutely over. There's no way to get this thing done. So there is time. Figure it out on offense. The defense, again, as we started the show, the positivity, the defense has figured some things out. So that part is good. Glass Dragon with a 2. It's birthday today. I guess maybe it's my birthday today. It's birthday today. It's my birthday today, and this media is annoying. Okay, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. I'm assuming that it's meant to say it's my birthday today. But also Brian with 500 more. Appreciate that, man. I've said it before, but I really appreciate you guys. You keep me up to date on Eagles news over here. Happy to support however I can.
Thank you.
Means a ton. Very, very much appreciated. Also, Green Wingman with 5 more says, what's your take in moving AJ inside, get his touches that way? I guess inside to the slot. I don't know. Move him to the slot.
Yeah,
I think he can get his touches on the. We've seen it before in the past. I mean, I'm not opposed to moving him other places, but like it shouldn't have to be like, oh, we moved him to the slot, now he can get his touch. It should be like he could and should. We've seen it in the past of get him where he's at. So I don't know.
Yeah, I believe they actually did that for a snap or two in this game too, and it looked like AJ Brown was open, but obviously it wasn't. They didn't hit. They like lined up in a bunch, and he was inside, and then AJ Brown Jalen Hurts just missed him. He kind of had to scramble off his spot a little bit, but he's never been a guy that played a huge volume of snaps or like a primary really played in the slot. So I don't think that's going to be something that they do now. But like you said, they should be able to get him involved regardless of where he aligns. He's just that good of a player. But we'll see what happens.
I've had to stop taking the props for AJ. Unfortunately, I felt like it's
going to happen.
Get
it's going to happen.
Green Bay, he's back from the injury. Yeah, I got to see it. I think at this point, unfortunately, right, wrong, or indifferent. Quinnen with a 2. I think this is the last one here, and then I'm gonna spin for the giveaway, and I'll give people details as far as the veterans. Thank you again to the veterans. I know we're a day after the Veterans Day, but did not have the stream last night. Says Green Arrow, we won the game 3 times. I think this is a beef that's going on between maybe a Packers fan that is randomly ventured into the chat to hear about how rough the Packers have it. I'm not sure I'd be super confident seeing the way that my Packers have played, but we appreciate you hanging out. Feel free to drop a super chat, support the channel. But your Packers already did enough by helping us get a victory the other night, so thank you for that. All right. Let me do the spin for, this is the Nick Foles painting that I shared a second ago. So this one is from the other video. This is not for the live stream, so don't feel like you're missing out, needed to drop something there. So let me do that first, and then we will spin for the veteran giveaway. Let me see if I can share the screen, though, too. And, all right, here we go. So good luck all from the past video last week for that painting. Shout out Jordan Spector Sports Art, and who's it going to be? I'll announce this on a video, but it'd be great if you're here. Darren Ware with the Phillips will get a sack from the interior. That was his prediction from a couple videos, not the game preview, but a couple videos before. It didn't happen, but very close. Super close. Now, Darren, if you're here on the stream, that would save us a lot of time. It'd be fantastic. But I doubt it because these usually don't go that way. So I will post it. I will share it. And you'll have a chance to claim. As always, if Darren does not claim this in a week, then I will give it out to somebody here on the live stream chat, to the OGs who are regularly hanging out. So stay tuned if you want a chance for the Nick Foles painting. That will be going out there. But Darren, if you are here, come on down, comment, email me, thephillyspecialshow@gmail.com, or DM on one of the socials. Any of those work. Okay. Now, we did that one giveaway. So for veterans, and this is going to be the honor system. I'm going to verify it, but it'll just going to save me a whole lot of time here. I'm going to say in the comment section what you need to type in to be entered for this giveaway, but please only do it if you served or are serving in the military, if you're a veteran. I mean, I'm sure as the world, there's probably going to be a troll or two. If you win it, I'm going to request some sort of proof of identification that you served in the military, so just be forewarned. But, let's do it legit. I mean, the veterans are the heroes. You don't need to try to spam to win this one. But only comment. I'm about to give you the word to comment to be entered. But let me make sure and get it set up first. I just want to do that with a little preface because this is specifically for the veterans. And it's going to be 2 tickets. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll do. It's 2 tickets to any game you want for only veterans. Charles, what's up? It's great to meet you in person, by the way. 2 tickets to any game of your choice for the regular season to one of the veterans on this one, and I'll give you the what to comment. Or if for whatever reason you win and you just somehow can't make it to a game, then I'll figure something out. Maybe like a signed jersey of a player or something like that. So whoever wins. But they got to be on the stream. So I'm going to give you the word here in just a second. If you win it, stay here, email me or whatever so I can get contact info, and we'll give that. So thank you again to the veterans. Give me like 10 seconds to get this thing set up.
While you're doing that real quick, I see multiple people in the chat asking where I got my hat from. And it's
yes.
From Reference Co. or referenceco.limited, I believe is the website. If you just search like Reference Co. on Twitter or Instagram, they have a bunch of different Eagles hats. I don't know if this one particularly is available anymore. I know they have the like Eagles Phillies crossover hat, and they have an Eagles Sixers one as well. So go check them out, but not sponsored or anything like that. But I have a couple of their hats, and people have asked in the past, so it's not the first time I've said this.
There we go. All right, I think I got this thing set up here. Again, yes, thank you for your service to the veterans. Okay, I believe it's good. I think we're capturing. All right, this should be easy. But again, only comment one time. I'm about to tell you what to comment, but one time. Make sure, please be a veteran. Don't spam this because I'm going to confirm that it's you. But 2 tickets, any game of your choice. Shout out to you guys. Try to do as many giveaways as possible. But again, just a small give back as part of the appreciation channel has been a blessing. You guys are a blessing. So maybe the smallest thing that I could do here. But all right, we're ready. Comment USA. Should be easy. Don't do a period. USA. Just USA. Don't do a period. Don't do anything else. USA, those 3 letters. Comment it one time. Don't do it multiple times. You'll get kicked out. But yes, leave me the comment there. Drop a like on the stream if you haven't already. Would appreciate that. Kind of kick it out to others. And I'll spin here in like, I don't know, a couple minutes because it is late. And we got to make sure that somebody wins it who is still here. Only vets. Only vets. Yes, Remo, making sure on that. Please don't comment if you're not. But I'll confirm. Stay on the stream. We'll get you covered. So thank you to you guys. It's a lot of you in the chat as well. So that's pretty cool.
Such a good guy, Josh.
Remo saying there's not this many vets in the chat. I mean, here's the thing. Look, whoever wins, I will confirm it. I'm gonna get some sort of proof. And we'll double check, we'll verify. If they're not, then I'll come back on and I'll do it again. But I would hope, please, if you did win or do win, if you directly are not a vet, if you're saying, hey, somebody else that I know, a brother, a family member that's a vet, I'm not doing it. It's like you personally. That's what we're going for here. So, yeah, JD saying y'all better have integrity. Yes, John, I know. I know several people in here who are a vet. I can't vouch to know for sure if like everyone who's commented on this is. But yes, I will confirm as much as I can. So, Big Lee, what's up? I couldn't pronounce that last week when we did it, but Big Lee's here. Josh is a good guy. Thank you. I finally shipped out the Smitty card like a week and a half late, but between travel and video schedule and everything else, so he finally got it shipped out. So hopefully in maybe another week it'll get there.
The shipping time is a little bit of a bigger window when it's free. I feel like people are a little bit more
still try to do our best. Okay, I think we're good to spin. We've got just about all the comments in. And for Anthony, it's 10:15 on the East Coast. I'm keeping you up late. All right.
The kids are asleep. That's all that matters. If they were awake,
that's a win.
It'd be a different story.
All right, we're good to go. We're gonna spin. Stay on the stream. Do not leave because you got to be here. And gonna pick the winner. Who will it be? 2 tickets. Any game of your choice. Regular season. It will be. It's Inspire. It's Inspire. Is It's Inspire still on the stream? If you didn't win, don't leave yet because, maybe It's Inspire left, unfortunately, and wouldn't win these tickets. But It's Inspire, if you're still here, comment back in the chat. Say it's me or whatever. Oh, there we go. Got a comment. Yo, what's up? Thank you for your service. Please email me. I got to make sure that you're a vet too, but email me, thephillyspecialshow@gmail.com, or DM me on one of the socials. Just got to double check, get some information from you, make sure. And then, obviously, once we confirm that, then you can tell me which game you want to go to. So, congratulations! Thank you to all you guys. If I could, I would do a million of these, but just the reason that we do as many giveaways as possible and everything else. So, I think we covered about all of it. I believe that's probably the longest, almost like an hour 45. I think that's the longest live stream that we've had, certainly during the season, like since it started for this year.
You're right. What that says. Need a snack or something?
I think I'm good. It was a lot longer than I anticipated, but
sorry about that. Your wife
it was good. No, it's
okay.
They're all good. She knew as well. So it's always fun to hang out, always fun to talk birds. I don't know if I anticipated. Maybe I anticipated. I'm not sure that I was wanting to get into all the drama stuff, the AJ news and all that. But that's where it went sometimes. But it's still fun. Again, the Eagles are 7-2. They're atop the NFC. They got everything in front of them. Huge opportunity with the Lions coming this week. More videos coming. Should have one tomorrow afternoon, evening, and then also the game preview on Saturday. So more giveaways, everything there. Also, if you missed the game recap video and you didn't win tickets here, there's still a chance to win 2 game tickets from that one. So go to the previous video that I dropped, and you just got to leave a comment. That's all you got to do. And then I'll spin for that one, which I will share in an upcoming video. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to follow Anthony. He's got your injury updates. maybe the Eagles will share them a little bit earlier tomorrow, and won't be
That'd be nice.
waiting till 8 p.m. Eastern time of, hey, here's the
I'll
injury report. But
I'll also be tweeting out. I'll be doing an Eagles mailbag on the PhillySpecialShow.com. So
there you
tomorrow
go.
I'll send out a tweet. If anybody wants to submit a question for that, feel free to reply to my tweet, and then I do my best to try and answer every question that's submitted. So if there's anything that we didn't touch tonight, feel free to send it in there, and I'll try and answer it to my best.
There you go. Ed DiBona NFL. You should already be following. Anthony's almost at 20,000 followers. Very well
Almost
deserved
there.
for that one. But
Appreciate it.
if you aren't, give a follow. Ask him some questions. Ask him some percentage prediction questions. He loves those. So follow up with that. But this was fun. This was fun. Appreciate that. Again, congratulations. I'll announce the winner or share this on the page and everything as well. So, but if they do not claim it, we'll give it away to somebody on the live stream. Have a great night. As I said, Eagles are 7-2. Leading the NFC. We're going to be okay. We're going to be at offense. I'm still holding out hope. We'll be fine. As always, we'll see you guys. Go Birds.
Go Birds.